So in 2002, when then FA President Ben Kofi took over office as the Ghana Football Association president, Uncle Ben Kofi became the first FA elected president. And when he took over office in 2002, he decided to set out what he called a 5-year development plan. And in setting out the 5-year development plan, he said that he wanted to qualify Ghana for the World Cup in 2006, the African Cup of Nations in 2006, and the Olympic Games in 2006.
Wow. Hello, and many thanks for joining us for yet another episode. Today, we are here to look deeper into the reasons why Ghana Black Stars, I must say, are in this deep wilderness. A lot of married opinions have been shared across as to whether coaches, the president, leadership, or the players are not giving their all to hoist and high the flag of Ghana. Today, on this episode, we'll look into our challenges and then pinpoint some final panaceas that will take us to the Roseland. And doing this, I have with me a religious follower of our game here in the Upper West region and Ghana entirety. And more also, he's a serial winner. He has won it all with Power Sporting Club, Wassunta Sporting Club, just to mention a few. I have with me Coach Kandoma Jong, who happens to be the gaffer for Calibi, a Division 2 side in the Upper West region. Coach, good day and many thanks for joining us on this episode.
Good day. It's a pleasure to be here.
Coach, without wasting more time, let's just set our house in motion and wagging our tongues through the reasons why Ghana are in this wilderness. To start it off, how did we end here as a nation?
They said, whoever that fails to plan plans to fail. And as a nation, we have failed to plan. And the very first day we failed to plan was the day we planned to fail. And so that is how come we are where we are today.
Deep in saying and deep in meaning, it is again. Coach, now let's begin to look at the details. For the first time in 2 decades, Ghana Black Stars will not be participating in next year's AFCON. And this is so bizarre for a touted football nation as Ghana to be left out when all football nations will Ghana at Morocco just to fight for one trophy. Walk us through. What do you think could have been the reasons why we've sunk this deep?
Multifaceted reasons and factors. You know that as a country, we have, if not neglected, but paid little attention to grassroots football, leading to poor performance as far as our junior national teams are concerned. You cannot have a good Black Stars if you don't have a good Black Starless, a good Black Satellite, probably a good Black Meteors before you can have a good Black Stars. There is always a transition of players from these age groups through into the Black Stars before we can have the kind of Black Stars that we always want to. And you and I have seen our prime Black Stars between 2006 and 2010. And between 2006 and 2010, this prime Black Stars that we all saw was composed of players that had passed through the various stages of our junior national teams. Talk of the national under 17 through into the national under 20 before enrolling into the Black Stars and getting to know how things are done at the national team level and getting us the kind of results they've gotten us. When we were growing up, grassroots football was one key thing that was very dear to the heart of the Ghana Football Association. And then the Ghana Football Association had a sponsor called Milo with Nestle Ghana, who sponsored regional championships. The regional champions assembled at a national festival. And from there, players are selected into the various national teams. And I think the maiden edition of the National Under 17 Championship that was sponsored by Milo started in 1995, where then it was Abedi Pele Stars who won the championship and represented the region It started in 94 rather, where Abedipele Stars won and represented the region. In 95, 96, it was Yellow Masters. In 97, it was Young Heroes that won and the region hosted, and they won eventually.
Wow.
So Coach KD happens to be the only coach that won the National Milo Championship juvenile football for the Upper West region. It was hosted
Incredible.
in Wahia. The goal king was from this region, Fuzi. If you go to DVLA, he's now there working with the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority. In 98, Abedipele Stars qualified once again. In 99, we were then playing juvenile football. We qualified Yellow Masters 99, 2000. In 2001, Malik Stars qualified, but the championship could not come off because of sponsorship issues, because Milo had withdrawn. And so then sponsorship issues became an issue, and the FA has started having challenges as far as the national championships were concerned. And so at a point, juvenile football at the regional level started collapsing. And from then, our junior national teams started struggling because it was difficult for us to get players who had gone through grassroots football properly to get into our national teams. And we started struggling to qualify for African championships and the world championships as well. And ever since that started, we started having problems with having teams for the junior teams and players qualifying to play in the Black Stars. So in 2002, when then FA President Ben Kofi took over office as the Ghana Football Association president, after FIFA frowned on government interference, where Lipora, Alaji MND Jawula, could no longer be the FA chairman. Then that is how we used to call them FA chairman, because they were appointed by government. When FIFA decided that government could no longer have interference as far as football is concerned, the FA presidents were to be elected. Uncle Ben Kofi became the first FA elected president. And when he took over office in 2002, he decided to set out what he called a 5-year development plan. And in setting out the 5-year development plan, he said that he wanted to qualify Ghana for the World Cup in 2006, the African Cup of Nations in 2006, and the Olympic Games in 2006.
Wow.
So he selected players for various age categories at the national level who were intermittently invited to camp at intermittent times. And so it was during that period that we were able to groom some good players, to get some of the best players that probably represented Ghana. The likes of Sule Muntari would have never had the opportunity to play for Black Stars if not but for juvenile football and school football for that matter. Because he played for Okes those days, and he was even a left back. He got the opportunity to get into the national under-17 team, got into the national under-20 team before getting into the Black Stars. And you remember that the 1999 team that had gone to New Zealand, the likes of ACN, the likes of Stephen Tete, and Co, who made it to the World Under-17 Championship. They were the same players that were promoted into the National Under-17. National Under-20, who eventually went all the way into the finals of the National World Under-20 Championship in 2001 in Argentina. The one Argentina eventually won in the finals against Ghana. They had then Saviola, who was the best player of that particular tournament. But immediately after 2001, when we returned, John Pentel, John Mensah, Adikwe Papo, Razak Ibrahim, Michael Asian. There were about 7 players, Ibrahim Razak, and Co, were all drafted into the senior national team, the Black Stars, to go and participate at the African Cup of Nations in Mali in 2002. Ghana went there, didn't do well, but that team was not discarded. These players became the core of the Black Stars. Unfortunately, in 2004, Tunisia African Cup of Nations, we couldn't make it. But they still kept faith in these boys, knowing that national teams are not built haphazardly, but through a process. In 2006, we qualified for both the World Cup and the African Cup of Nations. At the African Cup of Nations in Egypt, we performed abysmally. We were knocked out by Zimbabwe, where Ghana wore a blue-black jersey that many Ghanaians thought that jersey had ill luck, and since then Ghana has never worn that particular jersey again. But we didn't discard that team as well before going to the World Cup. We made adjustments into it because we went into that tournament with the likes of Issa Ahmed, who was playing for Kumasi and Santi Kotoko. going into the World Cup, we had to bring the likes of Sami Osei-Kuffour, Sila Iliasu and co to come and augment the team without even driving away those who had participated in the African Cup of Nations. We went into that World Cup and we did not disappoint because we were paired in the group that was made up of the US, Czech Republic and Italy. And I think then Italy and Czech Republic were about the first and second place teams as far as FIFA rankings were concerned. And the US were doing very, very well.
Sure.
Many did not tip Ghana to travel far, but we went into the second phase of the competition, got knocked out by almighty Brazil,
sure.
A match that many of us, because of our love for Ghana, they were scoring at the new goals, we were thinking they were offside, but after having replay,
sure.
we had to come to accept that this is what was happening. And so after that, when Nantechi took over in 2006, after qualifying us to the World Cup, he decided to start emulating and imitating some of the things that Uncle Ben Kofi was doing by trying to ensure that we have good youth teams who would progress into the Black Stars. And so he was lucky in 2009, his under-20 national team won the World Under-20 Championship, where we had Jonathan Mensah, Dede Ayew, Rabiu Mohammed, Ajiman Badu, the goalkeeper from Liberty Professionals, Daniel Ajay, and a host of others. When the likes of Stephen Appiah and co were fading off and not having the level of energy to play for the Black Stars again, Razak Kimpo and co was fading off. Dominic Adia and co stepped in and filled the void that they were going to leave.
So meaning the transition
was there was taken care of.
Okay.
And so you realize that since then we're having good teams until 2014.
Okay.
When a lot of the things started going down, because after that time we started concentrating so much on the Black Stars to the neglect of the junior national teams, forgetting that this is where we were getting the feed from that is giving us the best of options. And so from 2014, 2015 thereabout, you realize that our performance at the youth level became very abysmal.
Sure.
And it has affected us a lot. And so a time came, instead of having players who are homegrown.
And to back your point with these statistics, the Starlets under 17, since 2017, they've not even they are not even able to qualify
for
into
the
AFCON.
Africa, it is usually at the Wafuzo B that they just knock us out. Yes,
since
2017. So we've neglected youth football, and because of that, players come into the Black Stars never playing together before at any level and coming to play just for the first time at that level. I have consistently said that when you take all the national teams that are flourishing and doing well, you see that there are playmates, teammates at various levels at the national team.
Absolutely.
It is one off that you see a young player, like in the case of Spain, for instance, you might take the Spanish national team and you see that Oli Yamin Yamal is from his age category that has been able to find it. That is some exceptional situations. Not in the case of Ghana, where when you take all the players that played in the last match, none of them has played together.
Lamin Yamal as an example, but he did play at the Spanish under 10, under 12 before he eventually got...
No, I'm only using him as an example to backtrace the case that probably he doesn't have teammates in the team, like I said, that usually most of our players, like I gave you the scenario of the ACN and Co. Diabaj.
Okay.
I gave you the scenario of the Dede Ayew and Co. Diabaj.
Okay.
In most of the national teams, that is how you see them. Unlike until sometimes you see one special talent who gets himself into the team, not having a lot of teammates or none of his teammates in the team. But apart from that, you realize that once we neglected youth football, we started chasing talent wrongly. People who chase talent know how they do it. When you take, I'm an ardent follower of German football.
Okay.
And what the Germans do in terms of their talent hunt is that Germany pays a lot of attention when it comes to youth football. When they hear that there is any youth football playing anywhere across the world, they send their scouts and agents to go and check if there are players from other countries of German descent that are playing for other countries.
Okay.
So when you check, German players hardly play for other nations. They are able to track them right from their infancy. And so they begin to invite them to their junior national teams. They don't wait till they get to play at the senior national team level before they begin to chase them.
Okay.
And so before the player gets to the senior national team, he has some level of understanding of the German football culture. And he doesn't struggle to fit in. And so he fits in so easily. In the case of Ghana, we would wait until the person is playing so well, then we hear some Kwesi Mensah's son is playing somewhere and playing well. Then we start standing if the FA president is going to meet him, or if he has sent a group of people to go and meet him and convince him to come. So many of them have come to play for the Black Stars, not because they love to play, but because they just want to participate at international levels for this country. For me, any day I see Black Stars playing and I see Inaki William wearing the jersey, I leave. I don't watch the match again. This is a player who once said that he feels more Spaniard than a Ghanaian. Okay. After being rejected by the Spanish national team, because we don't have options, we bring him to the Black Stars. And you think you do this? Look, I am one person that believes so much in karma. I believe so much in karma that people cannot say these things against our national team and come and play and win laurels with the national team or win laurels for the national team. No, it doesn't happen like that. And so once we've not paid attention, we've neglected or paid little attention to juvenile football, it is what will happen. I know someone watching us will say that, oh, but they just started KGL. KGL is just about 3 seasons old. Yeah. Go and check the national under 17 team. How many players are from KGL that are playing there? We've gone to get sponsorship, to get money to chop, and select the players we want. Go and see. You see Benab FC. You see this team. There's another team in Kumasi doing well.
Still believe Nagod.
Mention them. Take any of our national teams, and these are the players you see in these national teams. But in those days, what you see is that the players that play at these regional championships find their way into this. There was a certain boy who won the best player for the KGL last 2 years, or is it last year? Ramadan, or is it Rashidan from this region? He never had the opportunity to be part of the national under 17 team. He went into the camp and was sent back home. The best player in the whole region cannot find his way. So what kind of best player was he? Okay. And so until we begin to do things in reality and not to appease people or to do, we are doing our football in social media. Our football, we paint it, it looks very flashy, but where the matter or where the job is done, nothing is happening. Grassroots football, forgotten of. Talk of infrastructure. Zero. Infrastructure. Zero. The FA itself, in the 10 regions, the FA has 10 regions. How many pitches can the FA boast of? And anytime you want to talk, people will tell you it's the government's responsibility to provide infrastructure. I do agree with them. Okay. But if you go to Morocco, ask them, what do they do with their FIFA monies that come to them? They put it in the infrastructure. Morocco is the only country in Africa that can house every single national team at one place. Would your Black Stars agree to sleep at Pram Pram?
Absolutely no.
So what are we doing with the monies we get? And they can't be good football without good pitches. You go to draft a football DNA to play on these bumpy pitches. Flamingos, why won't we stop deceiving ourselves? The gimmicks are many. We are a sloganeering country. You see, the way the partisan politicians are very good at sloganeering, that is how the football politicians are getting into. Flashy promises, sweet tonguing. And when you get to the field, nothing is actually done.
But coach, coming from the historical antecedent where you walk us through what was the story then and what is the story now, let's look at the current administration, the current crop of players we have, and then the current coaches who have manned the Black Stars position, ranging from Kwesi Appiah, that was 2019, to this day, Otto Addo. Where will you just pinpoint or finger around to say it is this department that is weak, leading us to this particular ditch?
One thing leads to many, or if I would say one of this has led to all this. Poor administration. Because it is the responsibility of the Ghana Football Association to have a blueprint on how they think that Ghana football should be run. When Germany ran and fell into a ditch in 1998 in France, when they lost by 3-0 to Croatia in Lyon, the Germans went back and told themselves that they want to bid for the World Cup in 2006. Before they bid for the World Cup in 2006, they must have a team that would look capable of winning or progressing to at least the semi-finals of that. But before then, they knew they were going to host the Euros.
Okay.
But they were looking at the Euros to be just too close between 98 and 2000. From 2006. Check the records of the German Football Association as far as major tournaments are concerned.
Okay.
Their minimum became a semi-final.
Yeah, where they eventually won in 2014.
Yes. And anything that rises and gets to its peak would begin to fall.
Sure.
So at a point in time, you saw that the German national team began falling. But you can see that they are putting it up again and expecting to rise very, very soon. So once you have a poor administration who does not even have a proper transitional plan in terms of how players move from one national team to another, anytime you see players at the national under 17 level and they fail, and there is going to be a call up for the national under 20,
you bring different kind
of players. And how do we even call players to our national teams? Before then, it was that the coach would go around and scout and spot the players themselves. Today, they'll call just Osman because they know he's a club administrator. And if possibly he's related to the football association. My player back no young friend or national team.
Okay.
And football administrators also have players they love. I have worked with clubs and I've heard that my player is going to the national team without me even hearing that, oh, coach, who do we? And I know that they have not seen the player anywhere.
Okay.
So the club also thinks that, oh, okay, between this person and this person, is this person that can... They don't even consult anybody. They will just send a name. Players have gone to the national team, arrived in the morning and left in the evening. Because they got there at the time that they had finished looking at players. So, we just call players for people to see in the media that we've called players. But for those we want to play in the national teams at the junior categories,
that has already been decided.
It has already been discussed. But let us make it a public statement so that people will know that there are some players that have been called. And when you check through all our national teams, junior ones, under 20, under 17, there are only some clubs that have players there. You ask yourself, are they the only clubs that produces players? And you are telling me that some of the clubs when I went to Accra last year with early this year with Calibi Sporting Club on their national tour.
Okay.
We played a club and I was shocked that the boy was not part of the senior national and the national under 17 team. The team is around Dodua.
Okay.
There's a university in Dodua. What's the name of this university? They are just opposite the university. Very fantastic player. But nobody has seen him, and possibly his club, nobody in his club is related to anybody at the Ghana Football Association.
Okay.
And so Flamingos, once the administration has failed, player selection will become an issue. And once player selection is an issue, it becomes a difficult thing. Even picking coaches. You know me, from day one, the very day they fired Akwesi Appiah, I said that Akwesi Appiah was probably not one of the best.
Sure.
But to bring CK Akona as Akwesi Appiah's replacement was something that I was seriously against because, in all honesty, I believe that Akwesi Appiah was a better coach than CK Akono. In all honesty. And their performance, their track record with the senior national team has shown.
Sure.
And worst of it is that CK has also going to be better than all the other coaches that has come after him. Because he's the only coach that has, I think, a 40% or is it a 42% win rate after.
40% win rate.
So the selection of the coaches, you select a coach that you know that, yes, this job he's not actually. Which serious country would experiment their senior national team with a coach that has no coaching experience? Flamingos. Which senior national team? A coach, your first professional coaching job is a senior national team. Where does this happen? And so a lot of things would go wrong.
But if we will see, he had worked with experienced tactical luminaries like Jurgen Klopp, Tadic, and co. So much so that he also gained something out from working for these managers. So that could also be enough reasons why he was given the mantle.
Some coaches will be assistant coaches for their lives, not because of who they have worked with or who they have not worked with. Do you know that coaches worked under Sir Alex Ferguson and they never coached as head coaches? Coaches have worked under Pep Guardiola, the best coach arguably in the world, and they have never worked as head coaches.
Okay.
And I hear many say that one of Aminu Shado is saying that if this is what we are saying, that Mikel Arteta shouldn't have been allowed to stay at Arsenal until now. Whilst Arsenal was not winning, they were playing football that suits your heart if you were an Arsenal fan.
So there's
progression. Our Black Stars cannot win. We cannot even play football that will suit your height. I got disappointed to see our coach jubilating onto the pitch. If it was for Afriye, fine. But if it was for us equalizing a goal against Niger, our president said that 3 players from that team cannot play in Dreams FC that is struggling to survive in the league. We are jubilating because we've equalized against them. So once the administration has problems, they will select coaches wrongly. Go and check how the national team coaches are even selected. All our national team coaches. All. You have to have some relationship with someone at the Ghana Football Association. I do not believe that the coaches that are selected to be our coaches with the national teams are the best of coaches. You have coaches who have no coaching experience. All they have done is probably some 1 year or half season stint with Division 2s.
Okay.
No coaching license. And they are working with the senior national teams. And you come and tell me that I don't have license, I cannot work with a senior national team, or I have a licensee, because of that I can. Where I said Jacob Nate is an assistant coach at the National Under 17. Yes, I don't compare myself to him. He has played Black Stars. He has led Hasselhoff to win the African Club Championship. But he was my mate in 2017 in the CAF licensee program.
Okay.
But I have led for close to 7 years as a head coach. He might be experienced than me as a player, but he cannot be experienced than me as a coach. But who do I know at the FA? We've created national teams that when you look at it, there is no bearing between one and the other. Do you know we now have a national under 16 team? We have a national under 15 team. What is the relationship between these two teams and the national under 17
and
team?
they're having to create national under 22 too.
To get a job for another person. And you know the funniest aspect.
Okay.
Look at all the national teams we now have. Not because I'm sitting in Dondoli. Issa Najao is not a goalkeepers coach at any level as we speak. One of the goalkeepers trainers that have produced the best.
But previously, I knew.
I said Issa Najahu is not a goalkeepers coach for any of our national teams.
Wow, that is
so
sad. That is so sad.
Unless they gave him appointment yesterday night that I have not yet heard of, because it was supposed to be the local Black Stars where he would work with Didi Dramani. He's not with the local Black Stars. He's not an assistant coach at the Meteors.
Maybe they're yet to be created at the 22
team. He might come in.
Sure.
And so you see that everything is wrong everywhere. So how would things work? How would things work? The Manaf that we are saying, hey, Manaf passed through Najaho's hand at the national under 17 level. Atizigi has passed through
Richard Ofori.
Mention them. And such a personality cannot have his way to be part of any of our national teams. It tells you how appointments are done and where the whole issues usually will start from.
Coach, a lot.
Maybe because Issa Najah has not played for the Black Stars.
And maybe he doesn't know the close cronies of the Football Association president.
And should that be the case?
And that is what we are here to root out. That should never be the case. And appointment must be purely based on meritocracy. But in Ghana here, everything is possible. So, you see, like, if you keep on hammering on our challenges, I think it is so ugly, getting uglier, and so on and so forth. So now, supposing Ketokroku is listening to us, I just want your closing remark, maybe a piece of advice to him as to how he can retool our game so that we'll go back to our dizzying height and then vacate this, unwanted status.
He should see his critics as people who want the game to grow and not people who want him to fail. It's one of his biggest challenges. He thinks that when you criticize him, it's because you don't want Ghana football to grow. He tags and names people who criticize him, which is the first mark of failure of any leader. You see, I'm sure people have espoused a lot of solutions ever since he took over the reins of Ghana football. But hardly has he been able to look into them and on his pillow decipher which of them can I use to help the game grow, as against thinking that, oh, it's this person, he has always been on me, and so I cannot even listen to him. Ket should be able to come out with a football plan. We need a plan than a DNA, like they said. How can you have a DNA only at the national team level and clubs don't even know it? I am a coach. I don't know what Ghana's football DNA is. And the players I am coaching and training are the players that are expected to play Black Stars one day or the senior national teams. So how do I train players in my own way?
Based on the current DNA we have as a nation.
Which is, I don't know.
Okay.
So I train them the way I think that I want my players to play. They get to the national team and it is supposed to be something else. They will struggle. So you see good players will be sacked from the national team because they got there and they don't even know. You are a journalist. Have you come across the Ghana Football Association DNA?
I'm yet to.
So how do you have a document that is supposed to be public, very close to the chest of some few?
Okay.
The Football Association is not for Ket Okreku and his cronies. The Football Association is for football clubs. But you see, Ket Okreku is a smart politician. If he was in partisan politics, he would have been one of the smartest you can come across. He is hailed. And there are a lot of things that...
By the so-called football
By the so-called football administrators. And you and I might not like him. You and I might think that he's not the right man to lead. But the people who make decisions as far as who leads Ghana football think that he's the best thing that has ever happened to Ghana, as they have always made that to believe. And so, if Ket begins to see his critics as partners in development, he would get to pick pieces of their advices and retool them and ensure that we see or have our football running.
Okay.
When Sadiq Adam Obama led that demonstration of Save Ghana Football Now,
sure,
you heard what they told the Parliamentary Select Committee. You saw what was contained in their petition. I've heard many say that, talk is cheap. Yes, talk is indeed cheap for those who don't have any power to do. Okay. But talk cannot be cheap for whoever that has power to do. Talk can be cheap for Sadiq Obama, but talk cannot be cheap for Ket Okreku.
Okay.
So Ket should look into some of the suggestions they made in the petition and in when they met the Parliamentary Select Committee. You listen to Stephen Appiah. He espoused a lot of ideas. We just saw Tony Yeboah came out, one of the best strikers Ghana has ever produced. He came out and said that there are some people in the Black Stars Management Committee who don't take advice from former players. Okay. Players who have been there and have seen it all. A player who played for Leeds United, not the current Leeds United that Osman went on loan when he left Manchester United. Okay. The Leeds United that was Leeds United and was always competing for titles in the English Premier League. He played for Frankfurt in Germany. He led the Black Stars and he was one of the most prominent players. They say when they give advices, people don't take. Why don't they take? They see them as enemies. They see them as detractors. And this is how they describe you. So for me, when I had an opportunity to meet the president, and I think that my boss jokingly told him that, this is one of your critics. The first time we met at the Accra Sports Stadium, this was what he told him.
Okay.
We laughed over it. And when we went to his office to visit him, he said same thing. Then I told the president that, yes, I might be your critic. Whatever I said about you, that people who thought they loved you so much came at me on social media. If you have come across it anywhere and you have hurt anyway, okay, I don't have a problem. But I think that I have to tell you today again, because you told us that when you took over Ghana football, you realized that grassroots coaching, or let's say coaching, was a problem.
Sure.
As far as football is concerned in refereeing. If coaching is a problem, and you want to improve coaching, and you are making coaching expensive, how do you expect to get good coaches? And I spoke to him, and I can say maybe he can listen. He listens sometimes, if I may say, but probably depending on how you put it. Because it was after, if you ask Aslam, when we left and I told him, oh, that today, I said, yes, when I met him, this was what I told him. 2-3 weeks later, Aslam gave me a call and told me that I should check. Ket has issued a statement that they want to train grassroots coaches for free.
For free, yes.
I said, wow, this is fantastic. Because we've left the grassroots and think that they don't need any coaching. So players come to us at the Division 1 level and basic technical information, basic tactical information you give, and it's a problem. And many of them would go about saying, hey, because he has not gone through it before getting here.
Okay.
But if they go through it and when they get there, they would understand that this is how it is done. And so for me, I have always spoken my mind about how he has not done certain things right. And I think that Ket hasn't got a clear-cut plan on how he intends to grow Ghana football. But he has a very good plan on how he intends to stay for long as far as being the president of Ghana Football Association is concerned.
That one, no two ways about that.
Because straight away, I am not sure Ket can has the next person that will contest him. So I think that he should listen to his critics, have a plan for Ghana. And once he has a clear-cut plan and the plan is beginning to yield results, Ghanaians will have patience for him. 2-3 years, we can have patience. When Germans did their own, and the German people had their belief in them, they went all the way, and in 2010, they won the World Cup that was hosted in South Africa.
Okay.
And so I think that let's also be thinking about maybe an African Cup of Nations 2030 or 2032. Ket might leave, but if he puts the right structures in place, someone will come and succeed, and we would always credit him. Akwesi Nantechi never ran away from the 5-year development plan of Ben Kofi. And maybe if he also puts in a good plan, if tomorrow you are nicknamed after him, Game Changer, but I'm sure you want to change that name.
No, I'm not nicknamed after him.
Because he said it before.
It's a general mantra we all borrowed.
Okay. Maybe tomorrow when you succeed him, or tomorrow when Pelpo succeeds him, he might give credit to him for whatever plans he has put in place.
Wow.
I think that the future is bright, but we cannot achieve what we want to if we don't have a plan in place.
Beautiful. Coach Konuma John, indeed, and we are thrilled with every single of your submission. And I know out there, our viewers, our listeners will also appreciate the bold solutions you've really espoused to put an end to our current calamity. Many thanks for joining us, and we are indeed grateful to have you here.
It's a pleasure to pass through.